Hey, what's up everybody? John here, and we got a lot going on in the garden today, so let's go take a look. But first, if you would, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the notification bell so you'll know when other videos come out. So earlier this week, we harvested some of our celery. It ain't celery. So earlier this week, I put out a video of us harvesting some of our lettuce here. And as you can see, this lettuce here is really starting to get tall. And we're gonna have to harvest some more of that pretty soon. I will tell you that the salads that Kelly and I had from the lettuce we harvested, it was really good. So we're looking forward to having more of it. I'm gonna drop the link to that harvest video down below, and so you guys take a look at that and see what we did. And here with our zucchini plants, we don't have any zucchini yet over here. Well, actually, look at there at the bottom of that blossom, little bitty right there, little bitty zucchini. Get a focus on this. Now, Kelly explained here last week, maybe week before, the difference between the male and a female blossom. So the blossom with the fruit, that is the female. And then if there's a blossom like, let's see, the blossom with just a stem, that's the male. And so looks like we're gonna have a zucchini growing here. Hopefully it gets pollinated, and that's what actually makes the fruit grow. We're gonna have blossoms popping up over here, but let's take a look. There, look at that zucchini. Nice dark green. That was our second one. Our first zucchini here, getting fat in one end. So I don't know how long they take to mature. I'm sure we could go ahead and pick it now and eat it and it would still be good. But we're gonna let it grow just a little bit, get a little bigger, enjoy a little more of it. And with our yellow squash plants, looks like we're gonna have quite a few blossoms coming on soon, but we got a nice little one here that it's not too far away from harvest itself, and a little one there and a little one there starting to grow. So hopefully the blossom will open up and it will get pollinated. Nice little blossom. You see that little yellow spot right there on the leaf? Right there. That is pollen that a bee has dropped on the leaf. So our tomato plants over here in the containers, they all are looking pretty good. These four here, these two over here, and just about all of them have some tomatoes on them. Get in here. So if all these start to get red at the same time, whew, we're gonna have tomatoes to eat and tomatoes to can and make salsa out of. And then our pepper plants is our Right Stuff bell pepper. We've got some blooms, blossoms, whatever they are, over here. We've got our Carnival bell pepper. Putting on some there. And our jalapeno with all these little drops hanging down. But check it out. Those are gonna be not bell peppers, those are gonna be jalapeno peppers. So looking forward to some spice. Not a whole lot to report on the potatoes again. Plants just keep getting bigger, so I guess we got potatoes growing underground. So we went ahead and pulled up all the rest of the peas and raked the bed here, and hopefully we will actually be planting another run of these for a fall harvest. So pray that that will be a little more productive for us. We weren't able to get anything off of these to eat, but it's a learning experience, and we were just a little later in the spring than we needed to be. So yeah, next crop will be bumper. Our cabbages are really doing well, and I think today might be the day that we actually harvest one or two. Probably that one, and maybe that one there. There's our multi-head cabbage. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 tiny heads on that cabbage. And if you remember, that's the one that the worms got a hold of just early on. So this is really crazy to see the multiple heads. Now look at the size of these cucumber plants. They've vined all the way up taller than our trellis fence, and so we're gonna have to start training it to come over to the side a little bit. But we got all these flowers, these blossoms, blooms, whatever they're called, and that wonderful looking cucumber right there. So now these two plants are eating cucumbers, the big ones that you slice up, and these smaller plants, they actually are the pickling size cucumbers. Look at all the flowers up underneath there. But if you move this back, look at that. That is harvestable right now. And then way down there is a baby. And we got all different sizes in between. So, and there's another big one right there. So it almost makes me wish I liked cucumbers, but I like pickles.
Okay, so one of our other tasks today is to harvest, well, I say today, but you reach a certain point in gardening throughout the season where you pretty much harvest something every day or every other day or something like that. So our harvest is really beginning now. We got lettuce the other day, and now we're gonna harvest some cucumbers. We have 2 varieties of cucumbers. We have like 2/3 of this bed is a pickling cucumber. That's all these low plants right here. And then the other plants on the end there are more of a slicing cucumber. But our pickling cucumbers have grown like crazy, and we have a few that are ready to harvest. So we're gonna go ahead and harvest those today, and we will just store them. We hope to can some pickles. That's why we planted the canning or the pickling cucumber. But you have to have enough to do that. So our hope is, we're going to store these in the refrigerator. Our hope is that we'll have enough maybe in a week or 2 to do some canning, which will be exciting because I've never canned before. So, all right. But so if John comes down here, I'll show you. Look at this guy. How big and fat he is. Does that not look like a delicious pickle? So
that looks like a movie theater pickle.
So I'm just going to come in here at its stem and gently clip it. You don't want to pull it because you don't want to damage the plant. But there you go. We've got at least 4 or 5 of these that I know of. But I'll look and see what else we got.
Do you want to go ahead and get this big guy right down here? There's a big one right here.
Okay. Look at that. Big old cucumber. Be careful here because don't want to damage the flowers.
Oh, while you're doing that, how do you like your new pruners?
They're nice. We bought these the other day. I had some, hang on. Don't pay attention, I'm gonna hurt something. I had some little cheaper ones, but they got to where they would stick and they weren't very easy to do that with. And so when we were out and about running errands, we got some new ones and they're nice. They work very well. So, cucumber.
Woohoo! Our first harvest of cucumbers.
And we have a forest of green beans. Check it out, y'all. We got flowers on our green beans. And so you know what that means? That means we're gonna be having green beans up here soon. Look how thick and full these green beans are. And right in there, we're gonna have some of our first green beans growing right there. It's our backyard monster. So our little spaghetti squash plants finally have grown to the point where they're putting off vines. So hopefully this vine will grow up into that bare spot and fill it up. And got a vine coming up this way that hopefully will grow into that spot there. You can see got a blossom, got a couple blossoms on them, so that's encouraging for these plants here that just really weren't doing much of anything. But let's look at this. Whew. So these squash plants, these spaghetti squash plants are thick here. And look at the size of those leaves. So that is snaking its way over there. Oh man, but this comes all the way over there. And is starting to get out of the shadow, starting to grow over the bed. So we will just bend that back around so that it fills up this spot instead of growing over. So we also have a little bitty spaghetti squash growing right there. Also, a little bitty spaghetti squash growing right there. Come on, cantaloupe. Keep on growing. Gonna have some tomatoes soon off these. These are growing. They starting to look a little wilty, but hopefully the tomatoes will outpace the wilt. So we have heard that whenever the tops of the onions fall over, that they are ready to harvest. And so we actually had quite a few through here that were brown and had even gone down to little short nubs. So yesterday evening, Kelly and we pulled those out. You can see, looks like somebody's been digging. That was us. So we pulled those out. They weren't real big, but we didn't want them to rot in the ground. And of course, we've got some that are still standing, but most of them are laid over. So we're gonna have to probably go ahead and pull those up real soon. And then we can figure out something to do with this end of the bed. I don't know. Maybe we'll work it over and plant some pumpkin seeds. Stay tuned. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and harvest these onions.
So when you're pulling them up, you just want to be I like to dig underneath them a little bit so that I'm not pulling up the roots, because you want to be kind of gentle and leave the roots on there until they're done curing. Just for anybody who might be harvesting onions.
She's more gentle than I am.
Also, here's a little, I just pulled that one up if you want to show them. We pulled a bunch of those up yesterday, where a while back the leaves died off, but the onion was still there. So they're still edible.
I'll show you guys here in a second the ones that we got yesterday. So here are the onions that we actually have already taken up out of the onion bed. And you can see they're all different sizes. They're small. So we don't know what the deal is, why they didn't grow big like they were supposed to. I think these are Vidalias. But you know what? Doesn't really matter what size they are. They're still onions, and we're still going to be able to utilize them somehow. But we took the screen off of our raised onion beds just because they're starting to grow. I'll show you here in just a second. They're growing up into the screen, so we took the screens off. But it was really nice because now the screen not being used on the onion bed itself helps to be used as a drying rack. So we'll leave these here for a couple days, and then we'll store them so that so we can use them whenever we need them. Okay, yeah. So like I said, our raised onion beds. The onions finally decided they were going to take off. But you can see here on the top of the ground, the top of the soil there, Kelly actually fertilized these last week, I think. And so I think that has helped. So here we got onions that are starting to take off. See, they were growing up so much taller they are than the planter itself. That's why we have taken the top off. But I think also it might help promote just a little bit more sunlight getting to the onions. But you see that one right there? That thing has been super tiny ever since we planted it and it came up. But it is still super tiny, but about twice as big just in the last week. So I think the fertilizer has helped. So anyway, hopefully we'll have more onions.
Okay, so this is the majority of our harvest. There's a few down there on the ground as well, but this is the majority of what we got out, not counting the tiny ones that we pulled out yesterday. These are supposed to be Vidalia onions. They are Vidalia onions. They're just not as big as what you would think of when you think of a Vidalia. Not totally sure why, because there's I don't know. They really should be a lot bigger. But you know they're ready to harvest when they fall over. So then you can harvest them. The leaves start to yellow. Pull them up, and you want to let them cure and dry in the sun. But which we'll get to that in just a little bit. But a few theories on why they didn't get quite so big. One of them, my sister-in-law pointed out, there's not a lot of dirt in this bed. It's not very deep, as John shows you there. It's really not. These are, what were these, 12-inch? And this dirt's only about, some places not even 6 inches, 5 or 6 inches. So this was one of the first beds we filled when we built the beds this year. and we skimped a little bit on dirt because we weren't sure we'd have enough for all the beds. And we also needed to get the onions planted very quickly because they needed to go in the ground. So it's not like we had time to fill in dirt after the onions were in the ground. So I have a feeling that's probably part of it. There just wasn't enough dirt for the roots to get deep enough for them to grow big enough. They are still edible. They'll still be very good. We're going to keep them and use them. But just some thoughts there. This is a total learning experience this year. There are so many variables and so many things that are different than the way that we've grown stuff before that we're kind of learning, even though we have some experience with gardening. But that's what it is. You know, it's a learning experience. You can do research, figure out what you can do differently, and try something else the next time. So that's all. All right, so we pulled the onions out and we have brought them to the front porch. Excuse me. So you might recognize these screens, which I think John already talked about, but they were the ones we built to go on top of the tall beds that have onions in them because we had something that was biting off, like getting to the onion leaves when they were tiny. So it was to protect them. We decided it was okay to go ahead and take these off of those beds and let those onions get their full, exposure. And so these screens kind of serve a dual purpose because we can use them to dry our onions, which is what we're doing. We pulled out all of these, and I'm just gonna kind of separate them out so they're not on top of each other. They have good airflow, because that's the idea. They need to dry out and cure for storage. If you're fancy, when you're ready, you can braid them for storage. I don't know if we'll do that. I've never done that before, but right now I'm just gonna spread them out, give them enough room. You don't want them on top of each other, and just let them dry. And you want them to be kind of in a warm place with lots of good airflow, but probably not in the direct sun. So that's why we decided the front porch would be good. It's covered. They'll get shade, but they'll get lots of good airflow from the screens. And from what I've read, it's like 1 to 2 weeks. You want to just let them sit out here and cure. So that's what we'll do. They'll be out here. We'll check on them, make sure no critters have gotten to them. But I don't think any critters are really going to eat much onions. So we'll just check on them over the next week or two. And when they're ready, we'll get them ready to store, or we might eat some.
Well, as you saw, we took up all the rest of the onions, and so we decided, well, we'll just rake through the onion side of this bed just to see if there were any other little onions that had gotten missed early on whenever we took off the little brown nubs. And so we actually found a few more. But now we got to figure out what we're going to do right here. We got strawberry plants. We got strawberry runners that are making new strawberry plants still. And we got strawberries. Now it's been producing pretty decent here in the last couple weeks. However, whenever they are ready and ripe to be picked, we had talked about picking them, putting them in the freezer, so when we have a bunch of them, then we could just make up some strawberries for some pound cake or something like that. But we tend to eat them before we can even get them in the house. And let me tell you, if you buy strawberries at the grocery store, think of the best, juiciest, sweetest strawberry you have ever gotten at the grocery store. Think of it, you got it in your brain. Let me tell you, these fresh out of the garden, right off of the plant, it's like candy. Store-bought, there's no comparison. And our poor, pitiful garlic. We actually dug down into a couple of them just to see what it looks like, and they're not real big down in the ground. So
But we'll let them go, and we'll harvest them at some point, and however big they are, that's how big they are. We'll still eat it. Of course, our herbs, not super exciting because you're just not doing much, but it's got little bitty flowers on it, and that is cilantro. So cilantro is putting on flowers. Although last week we bought us a rosemary plant, I think blue rosemary. But if you pick the little green growth on it, squeeze it between your fingers, and then smell it, it is very stress relieving. So I highly suggest that you get you some rosemary, keep it around just for some stress relief. Pinch it between your finger and your thumb. Very soothing. Well, there you go, folks. That is this week's tour of the garden, a little garden update. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you guys are having a great day. So enjoy the rest of your day, whatever day it is that you are watching this, and I will see you on the next video.